Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward, and this is Face to Face. Our guest this week is Cree singer-songwriter Jessa Sky. Jessa, who is originally from Treaty 8 territory, is also a passionate advocate for mental health and addiction recovery, and has triumphed over her own battles. In 2024, she released her debut full-length, Sky's the Limit, that detailed some of those struggles. In January, she released her latest single, Sippin', ahead of a planned upcoming EP. Jessa is also set to launch a podcast in April. Jessa, thanks so much for being with us here in studio this week.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're very happy to have you. I guess we're going to start with, where it all began, and that was with your first single, On My Own.
Yes.
Just a couple of years ago, 2021, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but I guess for starters, was music something that you were always passionate about?
It was, and it's all I really know is what got me through as a child was music, and I actually wasn't able to talk until I was around 3 or 4 years old. So my parents sent me to speech therapists and stuff, and I just remember hiding in my room. And once I started talking and singing, I never shut up. But I didn't actually think I could do it as a career. My life took a turn at the age of 6 and carried on, so I never actually thought I could do it, but I knew that's all I wanted to do is sing and be on stage and help people. But music has always been a part of my life. I don't think it's music and then me and then it's just everything, if that makes sense.
It does. I guess what was behind the decision to do it, jump right in, release some music to the world a couple of years ago?
It actually kind of came to me, if that makes sense. I started messing around in a local studio in 2019, with just some local friends that had a studio. I actually got over my fear of singing for the first time in rehab in 2018. I did karaoke there, and nothing bad happened. People are like, you're good. And I was like, oh, why was I so scared of that? But my manager at the time found me through social media, through a song that actually has never been released. And he helped me get into CBC Searchlight, which was kind of what started it all, really, where it got me on the map. And I'm so grateful for networks like that and such, because it kind of just transpired from there. Yeah. I
guess if you were kind of worried to do karaoke, what's it like now? And do you still have some of those jitters performing live?
I think I had to, in 2021, I wasn't being honest with myself or the people around me. I had no idea who I was. I was struggling with addiction. I had tried to get sober since I was 19. My parents are, sober. My dad's actually gonna be 38 years here in a few days. And I knew alcohol was a problem, but I didn't know that I was the problem. So when I released On My Own, I was struggling with addiction. But now that I had almost 2 years, and so now that I know who I am, I kind of just, as long as I stay authentic to myself, I'm not doing anything wrong. If I'm being something I'm not, then I get usually really anxious and scared and kind of in my head, but I'm really not that important, and I just want to help people, and that's what I try to tell myself, and it helps.
That's an important job for sure. Right from those first few singles, it seemed like the songs were obviously really personal to you.
Yeah.
Like you talked there, lyrics about self-medicating, numbing the pain, and of course anxiety. Can you talk a bit about some of your lyrics there?
Yeah, I don't really write songs to get it on the radio. I write songs, because I'm going through something and I don't know how else to get through it. So I usually have my producer on speed dial. And it's kind of just been my outlet to understand my mental illnesses, my trauma, my pain. And when someone listens to my song, when On My Own came out, the people that messaged me and said, wow, I didn't, the feedback that it helped someone. That's what kind of helps my process. I write a lot about everything that's happened in my life, and it is pretty dark, but there's also a lot of good times, but I'm not the only one going through it. I just think music's universal. It helps everyone, and it's better to be vulnerable than pretending you're fine.
Talking about a song that you've actually never even released, given how personal the lyrics are, did it ever cross your mind that you didn't want to share them with the world?
I have quite a few songs actually that have not come out yet that I wrote about, and I I just know I'm not doing it just for me, I'm doing it for other people. So yeah, of course I've, like the one song that I'm a little bit hesitant to put out in a couple months is about my partner that I lost him to suicide, but we weren't together at the time and I was blamed for it. But you know, I think with time comes healing, and I needed to write that for me and as an honor to him. And so sometimes it's scary, but I don't let fear stop me from doing things that I know are meant to help others or to be, like I can't let fear hold me back. There's no point. I did that for years and I almost died. So I gotta just like do the next right thing and do what's true to me. And if people don't like it, that's none of my business. As long as I'm being true to myself, that's what matters.
The song Never Be Replaced seems to be obviously a very personal song, as personal as one can maybe share. How important is a song like that to you?
Yeah, I actually wrote Never Be Replaced with my previous partner who's now deceased. We lost our daughter in March of 2022, and I was already doing music at that time, but that was probably the hardest thing I'd been through since, you know, now since losing him. That's obviously like astronomically way harder, but it was cathartic because I can't, you know, I laid in bed for months, and I had my process, but how many other women have pregnancy loss and lose, you know, and sometimes it makes people uncomfortable to talk about these things, but I'll be the person to talk about it because I know when I was a little girl, I had no one talking about the abuse I was going through, so I felt so isolated and alone. So if I see someone talking about it, I'm like, oh, so I'm not the only person going through this, and I think that's what kind of brings people together is we all have our things, and there's no greater or worse trauma. It's like the feelings and the emotions that's provoked. So it was a hard time, you know, it still is, but I just stick to today and I don't think about tomorrow because my brain literally can't quite handle it. So that recovery has helped me with that in that regard. But I'm not a victim. I am not a victim of the things I've been through. I was a victim for too long, and it's empowering to own your truth, quite simply.
Like you said, you do this to help others who feel like maybe they have nobody to talk to. Difficult traumas. What's the reaction that you get from listeners?
You know, they actually keep me going. I actually just recently went through a hard time this past week that I actually haven't talked about on social media, but I struggled with borderline personality disorder. I actually ended up in the hospital. And, you know, I could say it's all together and, you know, I have almost 3 years sober and, you know, that's just not the case. But when someone messages me, and I get it all the time, and I have a little album in my phone and it says things that keep me going, because I'll get messages of people being very personal and they just share it with me. And so it helps me realize like I am doing the right thing by being so honest and open, because it is doing something for someone. And when we and Matt Mac went on tour, you know, my favorite thing was going into the audience and talking to the people that even listen to my music. You know, they're like my family. They're not just, you know, people streaming my music. Like that stuff keeps me alive. Like it's not just a career for me. And those people matter, and I have a platform, so I want to use my platform to help people that don't have one and don't have a voice, because I didn't have a voice. So yeah, I also haven't always been that way, obviously. It took a lot of work, but I'm crazy, I'm mentally ill, but I'm honest, and you know, I'm a good person, and I just try to be really real with my followers, and people know when you're being authentic or not, you know? So yeah, it's honestly a blessing that I get to do that for anyone.
You mentioned your platform and that you went through a tough time, and you haven't even posted about it on social media yet. People might know that you have quite a social media following. Not everybody wants to throw out their personal issues on social media. Why is that something important for you?
Yeah, honestly, to be quite transparent, it's very healing for me. Like when I don't, you know, I have a very small circle with borderline personality disorder. I really struggle with heavy emotions. So I internally suffer when I really care for someone very, very deeply. And that's just like how it is. But I have a small circle, but when I go into social media and I'm kind of just like, it's kind of like therapy or like a diary, and I'm talking about something that I'm actually going through, I'll save it as a draft, and then I post it and I'm like, hey, this is an update about my relapse after having almost 2 years. And it's something that I can look back on, and I do it for myself, but I do it for others, obviously. But sometimes I feel, and I don't know if this is a good thing, I feel more heard, seen, safe, validated when I'm talking to my screen than people in my own life. Because there's no one to really give me advice, like there's no reaction there. I'm just being honest. And then the people that it gravitates to, it does. But it's kind of a safe thing. I don't know if it's a good thing, but like it helps my process, essentially.
Yeah, I think most people would probably be like, I'm not going there. I'm not going to go online right now.
Yeah, no, I cry a lot. I feel so good crying on it. It's so weird because it's like, it's not fake, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like in my car crying, and I'm, instead, you know, when I have to, my parents hear me crying, then I have to deal with them being like consoling me. And, you know, sometimes that makes it worse. You know, when you lose a baby, there's no worse thing. Like, no one can take that pain away from you. It's just, I'm sorry for your loss, but sometimes it's cathartic to talk about your process online for people that I may never meet. But the fact that they said, hey, you actually just, like, I went through that too, and that's it. That's all it is. Yeah. It's kind of, it's such a, I think social media is such a blessing, but it's how we use it, right? I think it's a superpower in the way I use it. It can be toxic, but I try to use it to reach as many people as I can.
Right.
Yeah.
Stepping back to the music, wanted to talk about We're Not Lost, the song. I think it might have been one of your number ones on the Indigenous Music Countdown.
It was actually my first number one. Yeah, it was. Yeah, love that song.
Can you talk to us about what the meaning behind that song?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I grew up, my mom's a residential school survivor, so I didn't grow up on the reserve, and I've been very open about that. But I kind of had this imposter syndrome and lost identity growing up because my mom was taken away from her family, and I never got to meet most of my biological family. I got to meet some of them, and they're such beautiful people, but I felt like, you know, like I didn't fit in with you know, the Moonyows, like my dad's Moonyow, and then my mom's full Cree. And so I had this like identity issue growing up, you know, and being in a white, like I grew up in Sherwood Park, and so like I didn't know who I was or what I was, and I felt like I was not Native enough, or I'm not, you know, this enough, so who am I? So when I really got sober, or started the journey of getting sober, my first treatment was a Indigenous spiritual one. So that's where I got to kind of find out parts of my identity. And then as I've grown in recovery and found out who I was, I'm like, I don't need to be this Native enough for this Native enough, I just need to be me. And so with We're Not Lost, I wanted to showcase the beautiful essence that is our people. And I know that if I'm just what I know, and I'm not trying to be this or this or this, and I just am trying to broadcast my experience in our own culture, and that's very much what We're Not Lost was about, was because I actually felt like I wasn't doing enough for, like, but I hadn't been there on my journey out of, you know, like, I don't want to show up somewhere and say, hey, like I know everything about this, because I don't. It wasn't my fault, but it is my responsibility to learn. And so that's why I did that song, and I reached out to the Abraham Lake singers that I actually met at an event, and I remember being ashamed to be Native because people made fun of me as a kid, and I didn't have any of my family growing up from this, you know, from my Cree culture. And so I wanted to show that what I've learned along the way is that I'm so proud to be Native and to be a Cree woman, a Métis Cree woman. And I have a platform, so why not just, as I've healed on this journey to find out who I am, that's how I do it, it's through music. So, yeah.
Awesome stuff, awesome song, love that one. Just so much more to talk about here. We just have to step aside for a quick break, but stick around, there's more to come. Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week is singer-songwriter and advocate Jessa Sky. Jessa, you released your debut full-length album, Sky's the Limit, in February 2024, just a little over a year ago. 2 #1 songs on the Indigenous Music Countdown, a really successful collaboration with Matt Mac, of course. Yeah. How would you describe your experience in the music industry so far?
It's been actually incredible. I haven't had too many bad experiences. Everyone that I've met along the way has been, I never brought my addiction in with my music life. So everyone that I have in my music circle is, I don't allow bad people around me per se. And I've been really blessed to be around people full of integrity, character. And yeah, I've been really blessed with like the journey so far. I mean, obviously it hasn't been easy, but I love doing it. So you don't get into this music industry if you just want money. Like, you do it because you love it, and therefore it doesn't feel like work, even though sometimes it does.
Well, glad to hear that's been your experience, because we've had a few artists on here who have said the music business is pretty rough sometimes on Indigenous women in particular.
I mean, I have had some things where, you know, I've learned a lot of mistakes, so I try to pass it on to the upcoming artists below me, what not to do, and to never do something if it goes against their intuition. But you know, it's a lesson. I don't like to hold on to negativity, but I did have to learn the hard way a few times, but made me stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you've spoken about some of the difficult times that you've had in your life. What do you credit with giving you the strength to keep pushing forward?
Sometimes that's hard, but sometimes it could be as simple as someone smiling at me at the Starbucks drive-thru. But I'm very spiritual. Like, God is at the forefront. You know, God has to be, Creator has to be, because as a recovering alcoholic, I'm very selfish and self-centered at my core. And anyone that identifies as an alcoholic would know that's not a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of. So community, support, staying true to myself, staying honest, having people around me that keep me accountable, and just taking it one day at a time. Also, hasn't always been that way, but I have to just stay at, I'm not important, how can I help someone else? Because when I start to think about me too much, I start to get a little off balance.
You talk about that one day at a time a lot. What advice do you like to give to those out there struggling?
It depends on the day, but you know, just at the end of the day, you're so loved, and I didn't feel loved, but I also had to realize that I had to take accountability for my own life, which is sometimes hard to hear because the truth hurts. And I tried for 8 years to get sober, and I couldn't see it, I couldn't do it, but people kept, you know, loving me where I was at. But it's okay not to be okay. Like, you know, if someone says they're not doing well, like, do you know how many other people probably aren't doing well? Like, what you're scared to tell people is actually probably what's gonna give you your power. So I also try to tell people, find one thing a day. One thing. Like, you know, it could be like, wow, my makeup slays today, you know, like something so silly, or like my Starbucks order. I think our perspective is everything. If we think of all of our problems, they're all gonna multiply. But if we think of something that we could do for someone else, yeah, I try to simplify life.
Advice to those looking to get into the music industry?
Just do it. No, I don't want to say that, just do it. But just whatever you're good at or whatever gets you up in the morning. So if it is music, use the resources that don't cost you money. I sold everything I owned in 2021 to fund my first song. And my parents didn't help me, no one, and I'm very proud to say I did that. But also, like, with the resources today, social media is your friend. Stay true to yourself. If you don't know who you are, that's fine. But do what you love, and don't go against your own morals or intuition for anyone. Because when you're true to yourself and you are yourself, no one else is you. And all of us can win. All of us, because we're all different. It's just how bad you want it.
Sippin', your latest single, about a month old now. Yeah. That's you have an EP that's coming?
I do. I've been completely self-funded for the last year and a half. Luckily, like, I do make a full-time living. Sipping is on the countdown as well. I think it's at, I don't know what the number is. I think it's 16. So keep voting for that, please. But yeah, I have a 6-part EP coming out with 4 music videos. So I'm just waiting on some funds to release the next one. That's called Healing. From nice. Sipping to Healing. So I plan to have my album release party in June.
Awesome. Before that, even though this April you have a podcast that you're about to launch, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I've always, I actually had a podcast many moons ago, but it was called Just the Mess. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, it's called Sky Talks, and I love talking, and I love to give people a platform for a voice. So we filmed 9 people back to back a couple months ago. All the footage is not able to be worked with, so we're reshooting in a couple weeks here, and it will be on all platforms. It'll be videoed, and basically anyone and everyone I want on. So it's like kind of like where healing and humor collide, where, like, you know, I've been through a lot of crazy, sad stuff, but like also, like, life's too short, let's laugh about it, and like, let's just have fun. So that's coming out in April.
Awesome. Jess the Mess. Gonna have to look up that podcast. Jessa, can't thank you enough for coming on, being very open about your struggles.
Thank you for having me.
It's just great to have you. Wish you all the best.
Thank you. I hope to see you again.
And we're not quite done here, though. We might be done with this part, but coming up after the break, Jessa's gonna perform her song "Burning," so stick around.
If I'm being honest, at times I feel like I don't deserve any of this, that it's all one big lie.
Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week is Jessa Sky, and we thank her for sharing her story with us. And now she's going to share a performance as well. We'll leave you this week with Jessa performing her song, "Burning."
If I'm being honest, at times I feel like I don't deserve any of this, that it's all one big lie. I fall for it, caught up in make-believe. Internal demons continue to haunt me. My brain feels like it's on fire. Am I the only one who wants to run away? Don't wanna feel like this anymore. Is there a better place where I can hide away? I know I've tried this all before. Feels like I'm burning, 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 burning down. Burning, 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 burning down. Please save me from myself. Pity got me on my knees, gasping for air and I just can't breathe. Doctors tell me stay busy or just act normal, but it's normal. I isolate, dissociate, and try to do the next right thing, but I don't know. Am I the only one who wants to run away? Don't wanna feel like this anymore. Is there a better place where I can hide away? I know I've tried this all before. Feels like I'm burning, 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 burning down. Burning, 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 burning down. Please save me from myself. I feel so inadequate, can't seem to get into it. Keep people at a distance, scared of my own existence. Feels like I'm burning, 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 burning down. I'm burning, I'm burning, I'm burning down, 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 no. Somebody save me from myself.